Once again, good morning, or rather, I'd say good evening because everyone who's over here is from India, and welcome to this e-GMAT orientation session. In this session, I'm going to talk about two things essentially. One is to tell you a bit about e-GMAT, its background, and how we got into this business. And the second thing that we're going to talk about is our hiring process. In addition to that, we'll also take any questions that you have. I have members of various teams who can address those questions. And one thing that I would really say with regards to this is that we've tried to put in as much information out there as we think was appropriate, and so you're always looking for feedback. But if you haven't looked at our careers portal or haven't read the blog post on hiring, I would very strongly recommend that you do that even after attending this webinar. I think it will give you insights on how we go about doing that. With that, let me go into what we call as a presentation pane, and as we go there, the screen will change for you. And let me once the screen changes, I'm going to bring back the webcam. So this is the presentation pane. What you see over here and what you would very shortly see over here is a presentation, and then a Q&A pod below that. The idea really is, as we go through the presentation, if you have questions, you can ask those questions, and because we have a few members of the e-GMAT team, they'd be able to respond to those questions, and that way you get responses that are personalized to you, and while we still finish the session on time. So I have about 30 odd minutes reserved for this session, about 25 to 30 slides over here. But the first 20 slides are the core. The first part is primarily about e-GMAT as a company. So what's our vision? Why do we exist? So for me and Payal, when we founded the company as well as Abhinav, we are technologists, we are educators at heart, and when we started this company, or when we started investing in a company such as this one, our goal really was to leverage technology, leverage methodologies to make online education available to the masses, or in other words, make it so effective that it's more effective than working with a private tutor. And we said we're going to do this for individuals or students who are motivated overall. And that's something that we've been on this journey for the last 9 to 10 years, doing just that. And because of this, we focus just on GMAT as a test so that we can reach that level of perfection. So just an overview, we launched our first product in September of 2010. We started working on e-GMAT about a year and a half prior to this. These are the three co-founders who started this company. Payal started this company working full-time. Abhinav and I were working part-time on the company when we started. And over the last 10 years, we've invested in 4 core areas. The first is methodology, which means learning methods that are more effective than those that are out there. So if you've been an e-GMAT student, if any one of you has been an e-GMAT student, one of the things that you'd notice is that our methods are very unique. They're very fundamentals based, and we've done a lot of investment in building those methods that are replicable across areas. The second area where we've done a lot of investment is making sure that you spend time on the right pieces of content. When you think of a test such as the GMAT, and again, this is not applicable just to the GMAT, but GMAT is just one example. There are about 500 to 700 concepts that are tested on the GMAT, and not everyone needs to learn each one of those concepts. So we build tools that help you focus your energy on areas that you need most help with. When you're doing that learning, we actually give you feedback so that you know that you're learning effectively, and then for working professionals and even otherwise in students, for students, learning tends to be a very lonely activity, and we've focused on building services that are a support system that helps you or that addresses some of that loneliness. So what have we achieved till date? And when you see this chart, this is a fairly sophisticated chart. What you see on y-axis, and forgive the fonts, the application is fuzz the fonts, is the degree of effectiveness. On the x-axis is end user cost. The end user cost is the cost that the products are being sold at. These are not necessarily the cost of delivery of the products. When you think about books are cheap medium, a low effectiveness medium. When you think about the traditional classroom, more expensive, a bit more effective than books. You get to interact with a live instructor. You get a bit more feedback when you work the traditional classroom. But the most effective medium of learning today, and proven most effective medium, is working with a private tutor. And this is kind of what we want to achieve. Over the past 9 years, what we have achieved is, I think, we've been way more effective than a traditional classroom. At the same time, we probably about 60% of the effectiveness of what a private tutor is, but at a price point which is much lower. And when you compare e-GMAT with other online courses, and you have online courses from $50 to $600, what you're going to find is we're at least 2.5 to 3 times as effective as other online courses, for the very simple reason that our methodologies are unique, the personalization that we offer, as well as the amount of feedback that we offer. In fact, an average e-GMAT student our system is designed to give about 500 points of feedback. An average e-GMAT student consumes about 270 points of feedback. Okay. So where are we today, and why are we hiring people today? Again, as I mentioned, we're way better than a classroom course, and I believe with the areas that we're investing in, we're about 12 to 15 months away from approaching the effectiveness that a private tutor would get to. But again, we're not going to stop investing then. I mean, that's a milestone in that journey of e-GMAT that we've decided, but we believe we can actually go better than a private tutor. Who are we hiring? We're hiring people who can help us get there and help us in that journey beyond as well. And what are some of the skill sets that we need? You can really see the same written over here. Okay. Now, over this journey, we've had about 4 phases of evolution. We started this company with $10,000 in investment, and then 3 of us working with that amount of money. Pal was working full time. Abhinav and I were working part time. In the first phase of investment, and my apologies, just 1 second, I'll let the presentation settle down. And folks from e-GMAT team, please don't change the panes, please. In the first phase of investment, we essentially wanted to make sure that, is this a real business? Can we provide learning that's more effective than the 2 alternatives that were out there, which was books as well as working with essentially a classroom course. So we focused a lot of our energy on building the right methodology and making sure that we can make more students successful. So having a success rate higher than the success rate from other 2 mediums. How do we measure success? Score improvement is a very objective way to measure success, and because you can take the GMAT practically anytime, you can measure that score improvement very quickly. In some cases, as quickly as 20 days, on an average about 45 to 60 days. So that was our first phase. The second phase was we focused on building a complete product, which means, we started with just offering about 20% of the GMAT. We went from offering just 20% of the GMAT to offering the entire GMAT course. Now, we did these first 2 phases on a modified open source platform. So our technology platform in the first 2 phases was a modified version of Moodle, which is for those of you who don't know what Moodle is, in the LMS world, Moodle is the equivalent of what Linux is in the operating system world. In the third phase, we realized we needed more personalization, so we created our own platform from scratch. So we invested a ton of time and money in building that. We implemented study planners, we implemented more and more course personalization. So essentially, we wrote upwards of 5 million lines of code during this third phase, and everything that we work on today is built by the e-GMAT technology team. And then in the current phase is where what we call as our personalization 2.0 AI, and we're building services to take that effectiveness beyond what a private tutor can do. And you can see some of the areas that we are investing in right now. Okay. So what success has that led us to, or what, one area which we are very, very conscious about is being profitable. I mean, we've been profitable since year 3, and then all of these investments have actually been funded by the profits that the business generates. We've taken some money, but our investors today own less than 2% of the company. In fact, employees own more of the organization than investors do. If you go on GMAT Club, look at top-rated instructors, you're going to find 4 out of top 5 instructors actually work for e-GMAT. The other instructor who doesn't work for e-GMAT is actually not in the GMAT prep space anymore. Look at reviews on be the GMAT or GMAT Club, 2 most popular forums. You're going to find we are number 1 or number 2 there. In fact, if you add the cumulative number of reviews, we are number 1. Same thing with success stories, and for those of you who are in marketing and sales, when you think about conversion rate, if you have a good product, you should have good conversion rate. People should automatically buy it. We have amongst the highest conversion rate in the industry. Now we can still improve on it. We do want to improve on it. I think we should be able to get to that 24%, but right now 14% is about 2.5 times higher than what it is for a typical online company. How's the organization structured? It's a fairly flat organization. We basically have founders, and we have an executive team. But other than that, we have about 7 departments within the organization. We have subject matter, technology, e-learning, search engine optimization, or as what we call as an e-GMAT knowledge base. We have sales, we have marketing, and we have customer success. Now, one department that you don't see over here is product management right now. Product management is Payal, I, and Abhinav, so the founders itself. And just the product has become sophisticated enough that we need a dedicated product manager. So we're looking to add that department over here. And again, within these departments, there are sub-departments. For example, within sales, you have inbound and outbound, and so on and so forth. Within customer success, you have multiple teams over there as well. Where do we have our offices? We have 2 offices in India, one in Delhi and one in Bangalore. So Delhi has more folks than Bangalore, but again, it's just we hire where we get good talent. That's kind of what our policy has been. Other than that, the 3 of us, Payal, Abhinav, and I, work out of Phoenix, Arizona, which is about 12.5 hours behind India. Essentially, you work during your work day, which means we work during our evenings, and that's kind of how it's always been at e-GMAT. So, just another couple of slides about e-GMAT before we go on to the hiring process and the jobs. So, when we hire individuals, whether it's individual contributors or managers or directors, we look at certain behaviors, and people who depict those behaviors, and more of those behaviors actually get promoted, get much higher remuneration. So the first behavior that we look at is the ability to take initiative. So at e-GMAT, we're a very data-driven company, and so as people who work at e-GMAT, you get exposed to a ton of data. Now, what do you do with it is about initiative. You see a problem, you get enough data for it, and there's data everywhere. And you can really figure out what the problem is, define it, and take measures to address that problem without being asked to do so. That's one behavior that we value a lot. Now, to grow, you've got to do new things, and whether you identify what needs to be done or someone else identifies what needs to be done, but it has to be done in a proper way. So if you approach something methodically, you take others along with you. We actually appreciate that behavior. Now, our belief is more often than not, if you're methodical about something, you're going to achieve success. But even if you're not successful, as long as you're methodical, you learn from it, and you help others not make the same mistakes. And that's a behavior that we appreciate as well. the ability to take people along on new things, the ability to motivate people to push the envelope, to actually perform beyond what they think they can perform is something that we evaluate and appreciate as well. And then the other piece is, hey, if you're someone who's in a role where 80% or 90% of the time you're doing standard stuff, your ability to execute efficiently is something that we measure too. Similarly, I mean, the employee traits, again, not surprising. We want to make sure that you're detail oriented. We want to make sure that that you're willing to learn new things, so flexible in a meaningful way, self-motivated. One thing that we don't like to do is we don't like to track your time. We don't like to track, we track your results, but not your time. And because it's just for me and for Payal and for Abhinav, it's an overhead that we don't want to have. So we look for people who are self-motivated. Now, if you're not, and if in a way you want someone to tell you all the time what you need to do, you're probably not a good fit for e-GMAT. Again, diligence is something which is really important. Given a job, even if it's a standard job, you've got to be focused on doing it right, because trust me, you can mess it up. We work in teams. I mean, every department is a mini or a major team. There's a lot of skill building that happens, and there's a lot of knowledge sharing that happens. And if you're not team oriented, if you're not willing to take feedback, you won't do well at e-GMAT. You would be isolated, and you're going to find you're not going to grow. So again, that's something which is really important. And with autonomy comes responsibilities, which means you've got to be dependable as well. Given a task, you've got to be able to follow through. You've got to be able to build plans around it. So yeah. Now, again, if you have questions, I see a few questions come in, and I see that you guys are getting good responses. So that's great. So I'm going to talk about the overall sales process over here, and it's essentially a 4 or a 5-step sales process. Again, the blog post is probably the most relevant, but you apply for a position and you get an assignment. We don't look at your resume till you get the assignment. We don't critically evaluate your resume till you get the assignment. That way we don't introduce any bias into this hiring process. You get this assignment, depending on the role, this assignment could have between 3 to 8 hours worth of investment. You do that. For some roles, there's a second assignment which you get after you submit the first assignment. Now, the first assignment could have a couple of parts, but that's still assignment number 1. And if your role has a second assignment, we give you that. But otherwise, we go on to what we call as a recruitment day, which is right now the one that we have is planned on the 25th and the 26th, 25th in Delhi and 26th in Bangalore. In this, typically you'd go through a problem statement or a case study. Those who do well on the case study will get an initial offer, and then after verification of your background and other facts that you've provided, you'd get a final job offer. Again, the initial versus final, the numbers don't change. It's just that we really say we've done the background check, the information that you furnished to us adds up, and so on and so forth. So with regards to assignments, a few of you probably would not have received the assignment as of yet, especially if you applied yesterday or today. You should be receiving the assignment within 48 hours of applying. So if you applied in the last 48 hours, you probably have not received the assignment. Don't worry about it. You will get it tomorrow if you haven't. If you haven't gotten it by tomorrow, do write back to us and be happy to share the assignment. So, for director level positions, what's the assignment? You have a mini assignment, and you have a cover letter. And the cover letter typically asks about your achievements. Now, the achievements don't need to be about the role that you're applying for, but they should highlight the traits that you believe are necessary for the role. Case in point, let's say you're someone who did marketing a year back, and you now are in sales and you applied for director of sales. In that case, your achievements around marketing would be relevant as long as the traits that you highlight in those are relevant to sales as well. So yeah. With regards to individual contributors, the first assignments are a bit more involved. For those who apply for the counselor GMAT strategy counselor you have a data analysis case study. It's a very interesting case study, and you have questions along with it. For the GMAT verbal, you've been given to go through a few video lessons and respond to a few questions. Again, for individual contributor, we don't expect you to have any prior knowledge. We expect you to have a logical thought process. We expect you to be diligent in looking at information and structuring your responses. And for technology positions, there's specific technology assignments. So the technology positions that I think probably is the only individual contributor assignment where we require that you have the UI or the algorithm designer skill set. So actually, let's get some data over here. Just for about 150 odd folks over here. Which position have you applied for? If you could fill in those details. If you could select the appropriate response. And then I'm going to, I'm going to put this over here. That way we get a bit more real estate. So which position have you applied for is the question, and then I'm going to ask the next question over here, which is which location? What's your preferred location? Okay, let's get a few more responses. All right, this is really good. Thank you very much. I'm going to actually put in the engagement dashboard. That way we can track the results, the stats. Okay, 138 people responded to the position that you've applied for, and again, you can really see the director of product, about 25%, sales and marketing, very similar percentages, and then we have fewer folks for the other positions. All right, that is good. And then let's look at the preferred location. So if you could tell me what's your preferred location.
Rajat, one request. Can you also take some questions in the Q&A pod, because it would be a lot more laborious for us to respond.
For the director of product management is the 26th of January in Bangalore. Yes, it is. This is the question is, can you update if the Delhi office is work from home or is it work from office? It is work from office. So our office is in South Delhi. What is the sales cycle? How long? Typically, the sales cycle is between 2 days to about 10 days. For UI assignments, can you use Bootstrap, Mathuraj? We will answer that question. I'm going to assign that question to Shantanu or Abhinav. If Abhinav is here, let me just check. So Shantanu is here for Bootstrap assignment. Shantanu, if you can respond the same. Can we use Bootstrap? That would be helpful. Shantanu, if you could join using the e-GMAT, using the desktop client and not using the HTML5 client, that would be helpful. So join again in about 2 minutes and you should be fine. And Shantanu says we can use Bootstrap. That is great. All director positions have people reporting to them. Yes. So for example, in marketing, the 3 people who are currently there in sales, There are about 6 people who are currently there. And yes, you may apply for multiple positions if you're willing to do the assignments, yes.
Rajat, I'm going to assign certain questions to you that would be better off responded by you.
What kind of analytics tools do we use? The tools that are mentioned in the assignments are the tools that we in the JDs are the tools that we use. Okay, so again, look at the JDs, the tools are mentioned there. Some of you are asking about the incentive part. We'll talk about it if you get selected, so I'd be happy to discuss that. We do work 5 days a week. The 6th day is something which we work part time, and part of individual. A lot of the individual contributors work, and they get paid separately for that. But they only work. They don't work all weekends. All Saturdays they work 50% of the Saturdays, and you get paid extra. All right. So I'll briefly go through the various positions, and again, forgive me for the font over here. The tool did mess the fonts up. So, director of product. What's the role over here? You've got to make sure that the portal is more effective. Essentially, this is a role that 3 of us were taking. The 3 founders, Pal, Abhinav, and I, and you've got to make sure that hey, the students are onboarded properly, which means they create their own personalized study plans, which means that they follow those study plans. You understand students' needs with regards to hey, what needs are we meeting well? Where is it that we need to put in more effort, build more services, or enhance the products? And then accordingly, you're going to do a lot of VOCs. You're going to track a lot of data. You're going to work with technology to specify new capabilities, make sure that you see through those capabilities. Again, you go through assignment one. If you're selected for assignment 1, you actually come to the recruitment day. Okay. In terms of the kinds of teams that you would be interacting with, you'd be interacting primarily with technology team, customer success team, subject. You'd also be interacting with subject matter teams as well as sales and marketing. With director of customer success, you work very closely with the product manager. Your goal is to make again the platform more effective, but through services. Not just you're focused way more on services than on the product part of it. Accordingly, you have a team that you work with. You lead that team to achieve customer success. You build services that are required for it. You build training plans so that as we need to expand the team, we actually have a training program that allows us to do that. You support product launches. You've got to make sure that students understand what new capabilities are being added. Last year, we added about 25 new capabilities to our offerings, and educating customers on how to best use those is really important. And again, using data, figure out the process improvement initiatives. Again, at a very high level, this is what is there. As you look at the job posting, you're going to get a lot more detail about it. Again, very similar recruitment process. Director of marketing, very simple. You've got to increase the pipeline. Now, I'm going to tell you a stat, which is something which a lot of people are shocked when they hear about it. At e-GMAT, about 55% of our customers just purchase the course based on our marketing efforts. What it means is marketing acquires everyone, of course. Marketing influences them, and they purchase the course right away. They don't even write to us. We get to know about them when we get the money from them. So that's kind of the power of influencers and the power of e-GMAT brand and the referrals that we get is. As a director of marketing, your goal is to improve upon that, which means that you look at the effectiveness of current channels and improve on it. You also build new channels and build new influencers. And to be able to do this, you've got to personalize the experience of prospects at scale and educate them appropriately about the e-GMAT differentiation. Again, look at the JD, you get a ton more details about how you would be doing that. Very similar recruitment process. In fact, for director level positions, all of them, it's a very similar recruitment process. For director of sales, you come in when marketing is already acquired and has influence on people. So your job is to convert. So to increase the conversion of pipeline. Again, what are you focused on? You're focused on improving the effectiveness of current channel, which means conversion. The current conversion rate for our sales is about 55%. And we believe it can be improved to 70%, but at the same time, we believe sales can reach a lot more prospects. So again, you work with marketing to build new influencers. You also educate prospects about the differentiation. Now, the way you educate is very different. You deal with prospects on a one-on-one basis. Marketing deals with prospects at scale. Where again, very similar hiring process. The JD has a lot more information over there. The director of SME is actually a fairly interesting position. Your goal, like the director of CS or customer success, is to make our individual contributors more effective, to make our students more successful. So like CS, you actually build a training platform more for SMEs. You focus on figuring out, using data again, which modules do we need to improve upon, whereas that students don't get, a majority of the students don't get what we are trying to teach, and focus on building an improvement plan for this. You educate students on how to use the product properly. You educate students on why the methods work overall, and again, you ensure students ensure the success of students by addressing their most subject matter specific doubts. The CS team addresses doubts which are related to strategy, which are related to study plans. The SMEs address specific doubts related to the content part of stuff. Now, let me just move on to individual contributors. And again, let me look at a few questions over here. Can you apply to multiple positions? Yes. If the audio video is not clear, you're getting the recording, so please watch that. Devesh has a question. He says, "Is the registration process? Do you get the customers to pay multiple times? If so, how?" We primarily, but half our customers pay just once. The other half who actually feel they need the course longer than the duration that they initially buy the course for, they come and pay us twice. But primarily, people pay us just once. Current MyQL to SQL ratio, I think Shantanu would be able to answer that question when we get to the technology part overall. And where are we exactly in South Delhi? We are currently in Jangpura. Does the product have gamification? Yes, in some ways it is. In some ways it can have more gamification. All right, let's talk about the position of verbal SME. So again, this is an individual contributor position, and our goal really is to help students succeed by addressing their queries. Again, what you do in this position is again, you address their individual queries. You are very similar to what the director of subject matter did, except creating a training program, managing the workload of SMEs, ensuring quality for multiple people. You're actually doing that on an individual level. You're also creating learning modules as a part of that for a member of that department. You also enhance the existing work processes, which is not just for you as SMEs, but also the workflows that students go through with regards to your context of work, which is forums work, and you also have that responsibility of representing e-GMAT on public forums. Pal, do you want to add something to this? If you want, you can probably enable the microphone at your end.
I think you've covered it all. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Now, with regards to verbal SME, again, you submit the first assignment, you come to the recruitment day if you've been selected, and you go through a case study, and then you get the final offer. With regards to GMAT strategy counselor, it's a very unique role. It's not something that many companies have. It's very different from what a typical counselor role is. When you're a GMAT strategy counselor, your goal is to make sure that students spend time on the right kind of content. Your goal is to make sure the students know the metrics they need to hit in our internal platform to achieve their target GMAT scores. Your goal is to keep students motivated. So it's a lot of data analysis. It's a lot of what I call as coaching. And when I say coaching, it's not your traditional coaching in that regards. It is coaching with regards to influencing them so that they're motivated to put in that effort. As a part of this, guiding I've already talked about, you may conduct a few webinars. You may actually provide feedback to improve the product itself. And with regards to GMAT strategy, you may also create a few learning modules or self-help modules. My best one thing that we usually say is, you can be responsive to a student, or you can address a student's doubt even before he has it. And addressing a student doubt even before he has it is probably a better way. And that's where learning modules in this role is a really, really important thing. Again, very similar recruitment process. Sharang, Payal, if you want to add something to it, feel free to. Okay, let me move forward. Now, technology positions. So one of the things that I want to do is you're going to see a little bit more elaboration on the technology side. Why? Because one of the impressions that a lot of people really have is, this is a test prep company. They don't need technology, because 99% of the test prep companies out there don't actually leverage technology. And even those who have, they kind of buy technology from elsewhere. At e-GMAT, content, technology, both of these have been at the core since our very inception. And right now we have actually a 7-person full-time technology team. And I emphasize the word full-time because each one of them works full-time. Abhinav, who's our CTO, was one of the founding members. He focuses on the overall technology direction. Shantanu is a technology head. Every piece of content technology piece that's there on e-GMAT, both Abhinav and Shantanu have touched it. They've tested it. They've tried to break it themselves, and only when they believe they can't break it is when it goes forward into our production platform. And just why do I say that technology is core? Because we consider technology to be two things. One is an enabler. The second is an amplifier. Enabler means it allows us to deliver value, which is not possible if technology weren't there. Now, just to really elaborate on this point, in the year 2019, about 13,000 odd customers actually logged into our platform. These customers learn the best GMAT content that is out there, and then we only have about 6 SMEs on staff as of now. Now, 13,000 students, 6 SMEs. If you go to a classical test prep company, the ratio of SME to a subject matter expert to a student would be 1:50. Technology allows us to do this. Also, each of these students gets feedback that's personalized to them. So a student can get up to 500 points of feedback. That even a private tutor cannot do today. Each student gets its own personalized study plan that even a private tutor cannot do today. So it allows us to do things that are not possible without it. It allows us to amplify our subject matters. That's why it's core, and it should be core. Um, Again, I think we've talked a bit about this as an enabler and as an amplifier. Fewer experts can go to multiple students. We've not talked about it. So what are the key areas in which we're looking to invest? Big area, multi-level analytics. And what I mean by multi-level analytics is, people have analytics where you say you solve 20 questions and I can really see which questions have you solved incorrectly in number properties, how you've been performing in algebra, and so on and so forth. That's what I call as level 1 analytics. Level 2 analytics actually look at those 20 questions and say, hey, what behaviors on your part do these questions test? And essentially, what are those behaviors that are causing you to make mistakes, and give you feedback on that. If you have a closed loop system built around it, it actually then allows you to track your improvement across those behaviors. Machine learning, again, one classical product that we have, which is an AI-driven study planner tool, which allows us to collect data from these tens and thousands of students, learn from that data, and then create metrics for every student. Second piece is on the GMAT, people worry about that score out of 800, and then people study for it. Within e-GMAT, we actually provide close to 40 metrics, which you can track based on an investment about 4 to 5 days, and you can really see whether you're moving in that right direction or not. Now, how did we get to those 40 metrics? When you have those thousands and thousands of students who are successful, you can use that data to build those metrics, and that's where machine learning or AI is very useful. Building scalable architectures, that's really important if you want to maintain scale. As I said, we pushed so many updates last year, we didn't even have a single downtime. Again, that's because of the scalable architectures, the redundant architectures that we have. And again, building systems so that we are able to we are still nimble with regards to how the student experience while achieving the scale overall. So the selection process for technology, you submit your assignments. 80% of your for technology, 80% of the work is or decisions are built on assignments. Then we look at your resume, we actually interview you, and you get an offer. So current system, Abhi, do you want to talk about our current system over here? You can just enable the microphone and.
I could, unless, hi, first up, hi, this is Abhinav. I could, unless Shantanu wants to, because...
Well, Shantanu is not in the presenters right now. I think he doesn't have the right
okay.
client.
That's why I just didn't want to steal his thunder, because, he's been the hands-on brain behind coding it. So I'll go ahead. So, if you ever logged on to our platform, when you log in, you get sent to the main area, which is named at Blitzkrieg, and that's the main learning management system. That's where all of our audiovisual content, the concept files, the course structure, everything starts there. Now, that ties in closely with a few other components that make the e-GMAT ecosystem. We have Scholaranium, which, if you've done research on e-GMAT or have ever been our customer, it's the world's leading platform for quizzing and studying for the GMAT in that context. So you enter Scholaranium through that main learning management system. The same goes for when you want to practice the OG or official guide. We also have navigation into a Scholaranium-like platform that has the OG questions hosted. Similarly, we have a third system that we hook into, which is where our mocks are served up out of. All of these systems, they record everything you do. So we capture data for all your interactions with the system. We do correlation with them, and as Rajat's mentioned before, we give you feedback at the right moment when you need it, whether it's in the system or through email. You will get appropriate feedback. We also, we've done so much in 2019. I can go on and on, but we have the personalized study planner, which is again another system that ties into this ecosystem, where you can go in and you can prepare your study plan based on how many hours you can put in, where you are currently. You enter your baseline numbers, which again can be based on a mock test you've given that need not necessarily be a mock test given at e-GMAT. So we made it as versatile as possible to not only it works if you've always been with us, and it works if you've studied somewhere else and you're starting with us. So you can kind of enter where you are right now in your state of prep, and start studying with us, and we'll put you on the right track. I think I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, I think yes, he's very passionate about it. But yeah, you can really see some of this, and I think we've Shantanu as well right now. So I'm going to mute myself. Shantanu, you want to talk about the technologies that are used, and I think you can just go forward with the presentation. Just make sure yeah. And again, I see a bunch of common questions. I'd be happy to address that probably in about another 5 minutes or so.
Yeah. So hi everyone. So technologies we use in e-GMAT are on the backend side. It's mostly Java, Spring Boot, and other related to open source technologies related to Java. And for database, we use Hibernate. We host all the applications on AWS, which is on EC2, and we use various EC2, and we use RDS for database. We use S3 to save to store our content, and we use the cloud front to actually serve the content all over the world. And for monitoring and everything else, we use new telemetry stuff. We use New Relic, and our database is MySQL. On the front end side, our technology mostly is we have some products which we built a long time back, and we have to upgrade them. They are mostly using Spring, Timeleaf, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And our recent projects use AngularJS, and so that's about the technology. Yeah. And for reporting tools and other things, we have schedulers and other open source libraries which we use from time to time. Yeah.
Okay. Shantanu, can you also walk them through the assignment?
Do you have the assignment?
They have the assignments. Just walk them through what the assignments would be.
The user interface assignment is a page from e-GMAT, which shows you the results of a mock exam, and you can choose any framework to build this. And we have listed all the criteria based on which we are going to rate you, right, in the assignment itself. And that will be like how precise your user interface is, whether it's responsive or not, and it should work, and your instructions which you have given, how it will work. So we'll rate it based on that. Typically, it should take you 4 to 6 hours to build it. You can use any framework to build this user interface. And on the server side, we have a algorithm implementation, which essentially is you need to basically, I mean, you have to generate a bunch of questions, and you need to, based on the list of questions, you have to generate as many quizzes as possible with the constraints which are given in the assignment document. You can use the question only once, and once you know how many, and the output of your output of your program should be how many quizzes you can generate out of that input set. Right. We will be rating you on this assignment. We have a list of test cases. We will be running your algorithm across all the test cases, and based on if you have to get at least 80% of the test cases running, then only we will call you for the next round. And we will also see your documentation on how you present the implementation of this algorithm, right? So we will also see how you have written the test cases and what was the thought process behind it. So please do add that, because that adds a lot of value, and that will also help us to understand what you have thought. A lot of times, I mean, your unique way of approaching algorithm also gets you an interview call. So do write the document in a concise way so that we can understand that and how to run the program. The README is very critical, because end of the day we have to run your program, and you need to give us exactly how we should go ahead and run your program. All the information, you can zip it and just send it to us. We will take it from there.
Okay, I think that was very helpful, Shantanu. Okay, so I think I just want to clarify a few common questions which are there. In terms of the hiring process, step number 1, and I think I'm going to probably hide this and probably write it out as well. With regards to the hiring process, let me just get in some notes. So the first step is the assignment. If you've not gotten the assignment, you will get it in the next within 48 hours. If you don't get the assignment within 48 hours of applying for a position, write to me. So step 1 is graduate from assignment 1, and again, this is a dynamic step. As you submit, we typically will give feedback to you within 48 hours, worst case 72 hours. Okay. Step 2, we will ask you a couple of questions, but primarily for most positions is a face-to-face interview or a face-to-face selection day. And the selection days for every position in Delhi is Jan 25th, in Bangalore is Jan 26th. If you qualify if you get through stage 1 assignment or assignment 1, you would get to know the details of that. Our hope is at the end of the day, at the end of these days, you will have offers those who get through these stages. Okay. So let me just look at, if you've not been able to, if you've had audio issues throughout this meeting, we have recorded this meeting. We will send you the recording overall. You have to travel if you stay remotely. You will have to travel overall. In exceptional cases, we might look at this, but I think let's get through assignment 1. What does future look like for e-GMAT? What growth targets do we have? I'm not going to disclose numbers, but I can really tell you today we are among the larger companies in the GMAT space. But just in the GMAT space, I believe in the next 2 years we can grow about between 3 to 4x. But also in addition to that, our goal is to take this platform to other tests. Again, remember, the goal is to become more effective than a private tutor, but at a much lower price point. It should not just be limited to the GMAT space. What are the expectations from Director of Marketing? Any specific experience required? Please read the JD. I can probably tell you something, but the JD will tell you a lot more. How many positions are open for each role? Director level positions, it's just one position. For individual contributor, we have about 3 positions. Geographical data of customer base. Good question. About 50% of our customers come from India, but 25% come from the US, and the remaining 25% are spread worldwide. Every year we see more and more people that come from the US, as well as, the growth rate in the US as well as in the geographies is a lot higher.
Rajat, there is one more question. If anyone is unable to attend the video, to attend the interview on these days, will it be rescheduled or will the candidate be rejected? So I think that's a concern that a couple of people have expressed.
I think, why don't you do the assignment 1, and then, if your assignment's really good, we are, after all, in this business to select good candidates, and we'll address that then. Okay, there's another question, which is, since the product management department is missing right now, what's our vision? That's a great question. That's a department that actually is not missing. That's founders today, in many ways, and in fact, that's the executive team, is what I would say in that way. So Shantanu, who's a part of the executive team, also has a lot of contribution to that. So our vision really is that we have one dedicated product manager who does just this, and he creates that department, which means that particular person hires people for product management, and the goal really is that person can make the iterative improvements in product a lot faster than 3 of us can. Why? Because you're working full time, and we achieve that better than a private tutor version in those accordingly in 16 to 18 months or so. Are the director level positions in Delhi or Bangalore, or are we flexible? We're flexible. Why so many customers from India? I think part of it is how we started the business. We started this business with our focus on the verbal aspect, and the Indians are the ones who struggle with verbal. So I think that part is there. The other part is that there are that many Indians, and the third part is, I think we are Indians, so Indians that identify with us.
But that doesn't mean that our courses are not effective for people who are from non-Indian backgrounds. So yeah, so we just have to be more out there in the market for the non-Indians as well. Yeah, that's just one of the other tasks which the marketing director would do.
If you go to our YouTube channel, you'd really see success stories, a lot of success stories of people who are from South America, who or from the US overall.
Now, there are some specific questions about the type of assignment for, let's say, director marketing, director sales. I believe instead of going into the details of those assignments right now in this platform, it's much better that you go through the JD, and if you have any questions, feel free to write to us.
Yes. What is the success rate of our students? An average student who uses our course, or rather, the way to say this, the average score improvement of students is about 70 points today, and then those who go through both quant and verbal. Now, when you look at a few other prep companies, you'd say that our stat as an average score improvement is 90 points, but when you go look at, hey, how many success stories have been posted for them on GMAT Club, how many reviews they have, when you read the fine print, what you're going to find is that they would really say this is based on 30 people who've reported the reviews to us. The stats that we maintain are overall stats, which include everyone. And that's where the beauty of having a data-driven system is. You can measure the score improvement right there. Do we give any guarantee about this code? That's another good question. Today we don't, because but for the first 9 years of our existence, we actually gave the world's best guarantee. The reason we stopped giving guarantee was because no one was kind of writing back to us saying, hey, my score didn't improve. Or in other words, out of 10,000 students, we'd get about 10 requests saying, hey, do I qualify for a refund? And it became pointless, because when you offer a guarantee, you'd get way more requests with regards to what do I need to do to satisfy the guarantee? Because before buying, people would have those questions, but then once they buy, they know how the product works, they know what metrics they need to hit, and there weren't very many questions. And
I have find a few questions to you, so if you can shortlist the questions list for yourself, I think that way you can go through them real quick.
Sure. Yes. How would you measure success or look to quantify, especially with regards to the client success team? So, customer success team, the NPS score is for me the biggest measure. How many clients recommend you to their friends? How many clients talk about you? What proportion of the successful clients give a positive review, right? Because giving a review is also a lot of effort for a client. So that's kind of one big measure. Of course, not the fact that clients shouldn't be dissatisfied is another measure as well, but that's something that I believe we do pretty well. So, Payal, you want to add to it? Or Abhinav, you want to add to it?
I think keeping our customers happy, that is the most important thing. I mean, it's one thing to build the course, it's another thing to build an absolutely fabulous technology platform, but it's a whole another thing to make sure that the customers whom we are servicing, they are happy, they know how to use the system, their concerns are being addressed. So that is a very, very important thing. Just, empathizing with the customer, that is the most important thing, and that's what would be the core thing for any any customer representative as well as the director of the customer service team.
So Shashank says after you finish the assignment, you have to upload it. Yes, you'd have to. You'd probably get the links. You'd get the links in the email, or you would have already gotten the links. e-GMAT, why is this name restricting to focus only on one course? So it's not. We own e-GRE as well. We own a lot of similar names, so it's the e- brand, which is there. Do we plan to go public? No. It's just going public is a lot of headache. How do you measure per man day productivity in sales? Frankly, you don't have to worry about that, because as I said, we don't monitor what you do in that regards, but we monitor in general at the end of the month. How many sales have you gotten? How many calls did you do? How many difficult conversions did you have? Also remember this, when you make a sale, you kind of make a personal connect with a student. So sometimes it's not that you leave the guy after after the guy has bought or the girl has bought the product. You also follow up with that. So that also is a part of it. But do we really have hard factory-like measures to measure your effectiveness? No, but we do I think one measure that we do is
track all the required metrics, and that's something which is done across all the departments, not just in the sales team. And again, one thing is that if you're doing your job well, if you are passionate about what you're doing, as you said, we don't believe in tracking your day-to-day productivity. That's counterproductive. So yeah, but yeah, if you love what you're doing, if you are connected to the students, you won't have to worry about this stuff, because you will see the results. There's another question. Do we have repeat customers? Absolutely. We do have repeat customers, people who are not able to prepare completely within their subscription period. They do come and extend the course. But yes, we don't have the repeat customer in the true sense of the word, in the sense that they don't come and purchase the course from us year after year. That doesn't happen. That's the nature of the business that we are in. So we have to get customers. We don't want that to be the case, yes, yeah. But then that's the nature of the business that we are in. Once the person
I would just say in a different way. We don't have your classical repeat customer, but we have siblings
That's word of
who
mouth.
come and buy our
Yep,
courses.
that's
We
word
have
of mouth.
spouses who come and buy our courses. We have friends.
Yes.
Yes, so that's a
Actually,
lot
yesterday we
of
got an
that. I mean,
email from a
35%
Chinese
of all
person
our
who said that
customers come
I took the
that way.
course 2 years back. I improved significantly. Now my wife wants to appear for the GMAT. Can you offer a discount? So those are routine kind of emails that we get.
How many students got success from e-GMAT in the year 2019? I don't know. I'll be very frank. I would just say because success is a very subjective measure, and I'll just tell you as an example. There's a student who improved from 600 to 720. It said this was very successful, but that guy sent me an email saying, "Man, I couldn't get through ISB this year, and a couple of other schools. Can you help me improve?" So that guy is in my opinion, or in his terms, unsuccessful. At the same time, a couple of years back, another student got a 680, and he got into how was that? Kellogg, most likely, if I remember correctly. The Russian guy, and for him, he was successful because again, he improved from a 550. So we track the average score improvement. That's kind of a measure of success. It may not add up to what a student might call successful overall, but yeah. But what the other piece that we look at is how many success stories do our students report, and how many debriefs do our students write versus how many debriefs do students from other prep companies write. So if you go on GMAT Club, if you click on the tag e-GMAT, you can actually see there are more than 10 pages of debriefs written by e-GMATers. If you tag any other prep company, the most you'll get is about 4 pages. So that's a relative measure of success. Pallavi says, because students are all over the globe, what are the work timings for profiles such as CSC? So most of you pretty much work during your regular hours. So CSC, some of us do work in shifts, but that's kind of not what the director role is for. You'd work in your regular hours. Raju says, how many employees and what's the turnover? So how many employees is about 40. What's the turnover? Typically, I think with every organization, a person sticks around for between 2 to 3 years. And if you're someone who's willing to learn new things at a pace that we like, it actually stick for much longer. But one thing which is there with e-GMAT employees is that the kind of training, the kind of work ethic you receive over here, even if you want to switch to another place, you basically find a job like this, and I truly mean like this. One of our former employees, for example, recently became the CEO of a company. She's actually turning around that company and doing a very successful job at it. A few of our former tech employees have gone on to work for Paytm and a few other places. So the kind of training, the kind of knowledge that you get, digital marketing, for example, the kind of work that we do, the kind of analysis, the kind of analytics that we have, probably less than 1% of the companies in India do, or pretty much less than 5% of the companies worldwide do. The kind of data-driven decision making that we do. So yeah. What's the biggest problem for e-GMAT? Good people. Is there a plan to go B2B to approach universities and institutions to increase customer base? Not for GMAT, not for the GMAT, but there are other exams for where that would make sense. Are we open to funding? I choose not to answer that question right now. So I've been asked this question. It's something that we contemplate every 6 months, and it's something that we just, yes. Yeah, I mean, when you're making money, when you're adding to your savings, it becomes a very hard decision to go there. So so that's kind of what's been stopping us. Where do we see e-GMAT in 5 years? So we see e-GMAT defining how the way you actually prepare for international tests. So that's where we see e-GMAT. When people think about preparing for international tests, they should think about e-GRE, e-GMAT, e-SAT, e-ACT, e-ACT, or so on and so forth. All right, I think I've answered all the questions that were assigned to me, Payal.
I think we've answered pretty much all the questions.
So,
the questions that remain are really specific to the job positions, but I think the JD does a good job at that anyways.
So rewards and recognition, lots of them. It happens. You do good work, you get a reward. You do consistently good work, you get a generic reward. A few of our employees, for example, got Sony noise cancelling headsets, the 1000 XM3.
For the students, yeah. He clarified that later. Yeah, he clarified that later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. The rewards, okay, perfect, but yeah. Okay, all right, guys. With that, I want to thank everyone. There was a really overwhelming response. About 200 people at peak joined this session. I'm going to share the presentation. You guys can download
if you have
the
any of your questions, if any of your questions were not addressed, then please send us an email. That way, we'll be able to provide you with the response.
Yes. Would you hire people whose professional experience is not similar to your requirements for that particular position? It depends on the traits. We don't look for precise experiences to that level.
So I think if you can explain using your cover letter, if you can show your prowess in the assignments, and if you can come out with flying colors in the interview, if you get to that stage, then definitely, yeah.
And just to download this, select the assignment and click on download files, and you should be able to download the same. All right, guys, thank you very much, and good luck for assignment 1, and I hope to meet a few of you during the face-to-face meeting on 25th or 26th.
Good luck, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye, and have a good evening.